in the beginning when you first met Stanley Williams, you didn't know if he was guilty or innocent, but then later, currently, you believe he's innocent.
That's correct.
What information did you learn that the average person may not know, where you went from not knowing to he's innocent?
Okay. Well, there was physical evidence, but it wasn't Stan's. There were fingerprints at both crime scenes. They weren't Stan's. They've never been identified. There was a bloody boot print at one of the crime scenes where the murderer stepped in the blood of the victim and left a perfect boot print. That wasn't Stan's. That's never been identified. At one of the crime scenes was a motel. The person apparently pretended that he was going to rent a room for the motel and started filling out a guest card. So we have handwriting from of the murderer. It's not Stan's. That's never been identified. The bullet, we now know the one shell that was where the ballistics expert testified that shell was the exact shell of a gun that was registered under Stan's name. We now know that that's not true and that it was phony, or as another expert has described it as bunk science at best. So those are just some of the things. And actually one of the even more significant things as well is that one of the key witnesses against Stan was, they later found out, a paid police informant, but he was placed 2 or 3 cells down from Stan when Stan was in LA County Jail awaiting trial. We didn't find out until 20 years later when an unsolicited inmate, sent a letter to Stan's attorneys and said, "This has been weighing on my mind for almost 20 years. You need to come and talk to me." They came and talked to him, and what they found out was that he had witnessed, and he named names, he had witnessed a lieutenant from the Sheriff's Department, LA County Sheriff's Department, hand the police murder file for this case to a police informant, left it overnight for him to study in his cell, came and picked it up the next day, and then he said, "I need to talk to an officer because Stanley Tookie Williams has volunteered a confession to me, and how could I know all of this detail unless the murderer himself had told me?" And we discovered that the reason why was because he had the police file overnight. And in retrospect, Stan says that one should have expected or suspected that the information was false, or that there was something phony about it, because the level of detail he talked about, the color of clothes, what kind of sweater. I mean, it was like a fashion statement. And what criminal who had committed a crime is going to get into that level of detail about the fashion, with the colors and the style of the sweater and the this and the that. But see, what that was a witness who had too much information because he read the entire police file, but nobody knew that until almost 20 years later.